What makes someone truly exceptional? Is it talent, intelligence, or something deeper that allows them to dominate not just one field, but multiple careers at the highest level? Today, we're diving into the incredible journey of Danny Ainge, a man who didn't just succeed in professional sports. He mastered them and then conquered an entirely different arena as one of the NBA's most successful executives. This isn't just a story about basketball. This is about understanding what separates the good from the truly great. Picture this. You're 18 years old and you're being recruited by major colleges for not one, not two, but three different sports: football, basketball, and baseball. That was Danny Ainge's reality in high school. Born in Eugene, Oregon in 1959, Ainge wasn't just good at sports, he was historically great. He became the only high school athlete ever to be named first-team All-American in three different sports. Think about that for a moment. While most of us are trying to figure out what we want to do with our lives, this teenager was already proving he could be elite at anything he touched. But here's where it gets interesting. Having all that talent could have been a curse. How do you choose when you're elite at everything? Most people would have been paralyzed by the options. Not Danny Ainge. He made a decision that would define the rest of his approach to life and career. He chose to pursue what challenged him most, not what came easiest. At Brigham Young University, Ainge focused on basketball, and the results speak for themselves. He didn't just play well, he dominated. In 1981, he won the John R. Wooden Award as the top college basketball player in the entire country. But even then, Ainge wasn't satisfied with just one path. While other college stars were preparing for the NBA draft, he was also being courted by Major League Baseball. The Toronto Blue Jays saw something special in him and made him an offer he couldn't refuse. Now here's a question for you watching this video. If you were elite at two different professional sports, which would you choose? The guaranteed money and stability, or the bigger challenge with potentially greater rewards? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because Ainge's choice here reveals everything about his mindset. Ainge chose baseball first, signing with the Blue Jays organization. For 3 seasons, he worked his way through their minor league system. But here's where we see the first glimpse of what would make him so successful later as an executive. He was brutally honest about his performance. Despite being a professional athlete, despite the significant investment the Blue Jays had made in him, Ainge looked at his .220 batting average and made a difficult decision. He wasn't just good enough for baseball, he wasn't great, and great was a standard. This is where most people's stories would end. They'd either stick it out in baseball, comfortable with being mediocre, or they'd give up on professional sports entirely. But Ainge saw his struggle in baseball not as a failure, but as data. He was learning something crucial about himself and about decision-making that would serve him for the rest of his life. In 1981, the Boston Celtics selected Ainge in the second round of the NBA draft. He was 22 years old, older than most rookies, and coming from what many considered a failed baseball career. The smart money said he was a long shot. The smart money was wrong. Ainge didn't just make the team. He became an integral part of one of the most successful dynasties in NBA history. Playing alongside Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish, Ainge helped the Celtics win championships in 1984 and 1986. But what made Ainge special wasn't just his talent. It was his basketball IQ and his understanding of what it takes to win. He was never the most talented player on the court, but he understood the game at a level that few could match. He saw patterns, understood matchups, and most importantly, he knew how to make the players around him better. For 14 seasons, Ainge played in the NBA, but even during his playing career, you could see the executive in him developing. He studied not just the game, but the business of basketball. He watched how trades were made, how rosters were constructed, how organizations succeeded and failed. While other players were focused solely on their individual performance, Ainge was getting a masterclass in organizational management. When Ainge retired as a player in 1995, most ex-athletes fade into comfortable retirement or take easy jobs in broadcasting. Not Danny Ainge. He had already identified his next challenge: coaching. He took over as head coach of the Phoenix Suns, and while his coaching record was mixed, this experience was crucial for what came next. Coaching taught him how to evaluate talent from a different perspective, how to manage personalities, and how to make strategic decisions under pressure. But the real transformation happened when Ainge joined the Boston Celtics front office in 2003 as president of basketball operations. This is where we see the full evolution of everything he'd learned from his multi-sport background, his playing career, and his coaching experience. He wasn't just another former player trying to stay involved in the game. He was a strategic thinker who understood basketball from every possible angle. Think about this. What other NBA executive had actually played the sport at the highest level, coached at the professional level, and understood the pressure of performing in multiple professional sports? This unique background gave Ainge a perspective that was virtually unprecedented in NBA front offices. His first major test came quickly. The Celtics were struggling, stuck in mediocrity with aging stars and no clear path forward. This is where we see Ainge apply everything he'd learned about making difficult decisions. Remember how he'd left baseball when he realized he wasn't going to be great? He brought that same ruthless honesty to evaluating the Celtics roster. In 2007, Ainge made the moves that would define his legacy as an executive. He orchestrated one of the most brilliant roster reconstructions in NBA history, acquiring Kevin Garnett from Minnesota and Ray Allen from Seattle to join Paul Pierce and form the legendary Big Three. But here's what makes this so impressive. These weren't just good players, they were the right players with the right chemistry at the right time. Let me ask you this. How do you know when to take a massive risk that could make or break your career? Because that's exactly what Ainge was doing. He was trading away the team's future draft picks and young players to acquire older stars. If it didn't work, his career as an executive would have been over before it really began. But Ainge had learned something from his multi-sport background that most executives never learn. Sometimes the biggest risk is not taking any risk at all. The results were immediate and spectacular. The 2008 Celtics won the NBA championship, and they came within one game of winning again in 2010. But here's where Ainge really showed his genius. He knew when to break up the Big Three. In 2013, while other executives might have held on to aging stars out of loyalty or fear, Ainge made another brutal but brilliant decision. He traded Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, beloved Celtic legends, to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for what would become one of the most lopsided trades in NBA history. The Celtics received multiple first-round draft picks that would later become the foundation for their next championship contender. This trade is now studied in business schools as an example of long-term strategic thinking over short-term emotional attachment. But what made Ainge truly exceptional wasn't just his ability to make big trades. It was his complete understanding of organizational building. During his 18 years as the Celtics' top executive, he demonstrated an almost supernatural ability to evaluate talent, understand market value, and make decisions that other executives wouldn't or couldn't make. Here's something most people don't realize about Ainge's success. It wasn't just about basketball knowledge. His multi-sport background had taught him how to fail, how to evaluate his own performance honestly, and how to make strategic pivots when something wasn't working. His playing career had taught him how to perform under pressure and how to be part of a winning culture. His coaching experience had taught him how to evaluate and develop talent. All of these experiences combined to create an executive with a skill set that was truly unique. Consider this. During Ainge's tenure, the Celtics won one championship, made 2 finals appearances, and consistently remained competitive even during rebuilding phases. He drafted players like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, who became the core of the current Celtics team. He made trades that seemed insignificant at the time, but provided crucial depth and flexibility. He understood that building a championship team isn't just about acquiring superstars. It's about creating a complete organizational culture. What can we learn from Danny Ainge's approach to career success? First, embrace multiple experiences even if they don't seem directly related. Ainge's baseball career taught him about failure and persistence. His basketball career taught him about excellence and teamwork. His coaching taught him about leadership and evaluation. Each experience built upon the others to create something greater than the sum of its parts. Second, be willing to make difficult decisions based on honest evaluation rather than emotion or comfort. Whether it was leaving baseball, breaking up the big three, or making countless smaller personnel decisions, Ainge consistently chose what was right over what was easy or popular. Third, understand that true success often requires long-term thinking that might be unpopular in the short term. The Brooklyn trade was initially criticized by many fans and media members, but it set up the Celtics for sustained success for years to come. But here's maybe the most important lesson from Ainge's career. Excellence in one area often translates to excellence in others, but only if you're willing to do the work to understand the new field completely. Ainge didn't assume that being a great player would automatically make him a great executive. He studied the business, learned from mentors, and applied the same dedication to mastering the executive role that he had applied to mastering athletics. What's your take on this? Do you think having multiple career experiences makes someone better at their current role? Or does it create too much distraction? I'm genuinely curious about your thoughts, so let me know in the comments. Today, Ainge continues his executive career as CEO of the Utah Jazz, bringing the same strategic thinking and decision-making ability that made him successful in Boston. At 64 years old, he's still making moves, still evaluating talent, and still applying the lessons learned from a lifetime of competing and succeeding at the highest levels. The Danny Ainge story isn't just about sports success. It's about the mindset and approach that allows someone to excel in multiple demanding fields. It's about the courage to make difficult decisions, the wisdom to learn from every experience, and a strategic thinking to always be building for long-term success rather than short-term comfort. In a world where specialization is often seen as the path to success, Ainge proves that diverse experiences, when combined with dedication and strategic thinking, can create capabilities that specialists can't match. He shows us that the skills that make you great in one field, properly applied and adapted, can make you great in any field. So whether you're thinking about your own career, trying to understand what makes someone truly exceptional, or just fascinated by how success transfers across different domains, Danny Ainge's story provides a masterclass in strategic thinking, honest self-evaluation, and the courage to make difficult decisions in pursuit of excellence. That's the Danny Ainge difference. Not just multi-talented, but multi-successful. Not just lucky, but strategic. Not just good, but consistently great across multiple challenging careers spanning more than 4 decades. What did you think of this deep dive into Danny Ainge's remarkable career journey? Did any of his strategic decisions surprise you? And here's something I'm really curious about. If you could have the same multi-sport talent Ainge had in high school, which sports would you choose and why? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below because I love hearing different perspectives on these career strategy discussions. If you enjoyed this analysis of what makes someone successful across multiple careers and want to see more content breaking down the strategic thinking behind sports success stories, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We've got more incredible stories coming up about athletes and executives who've mastered the art of strategic career building. And trust me, you won't want to miss what we have planned next.